Man, that's a lot of scrap hits. They're packing heavy artillery.
That is not heavy, monsieur.
What?
This is heavy.
How do you say I'm buying this game as fast as I can in French? The binary domain. It's the future, and unbeknownst to humans, robots that look like people have been living among us for the past 30 years. It's part Isaac Asimov's Robot Stories and Foundation, part Blade Runner, part Terminator, and part Ghost in the Shell. It's all action. It's Binary Domain, published by Sega.
Wow, where did that come from?
This is one of these games that makes a terrible first impression. The packaging artwork is awful and looks extremely cheap. One of the main selling points of this game is the ability to give voice commands to your team, which kind of works, but it feels like you're trying to navigate your way through a phone tree in order to finally speak to a human operator after a half hour to learn what your credit card balance is. Yes. No. 7. Maybe. Big boy. Like I would tell my team to charge and they would order a pizza.
That was sweet!
But the thing is, this game rocks.
Totally soaked now.
Worlds fail to express your magnificence.
Once I got into the storyline of Binary Domain, I was immediately hooked, and the gameplay is solid, predictable, and a lot of fun. This reminds me a lot of another game published by Sega called Vanquish, which you know I loved. It was my 2010 Game of the Year. The gameplay in Binary Domain isn't nearly as good, but the storytelling and the awesome cheesy science fiction action movie feel is totally worth playing. And this game has a one-liner dropping French robot. Zut alors! Oui.
This is a warning. Put down your weapons and surrender. You have failed to comply with the warning. Initiating intruder suppression program.
This is your typical duck and cover style shooter. Oh look, a convenient barrier. How about I roll out of the way? Maybe I'll hide behind that giant box that can withstand artillery fire and occasionally shoot enemies in the head. Yes, you know the drill. The gameplay is really nothing special, and at times it's actually quite jerky because there's always robots exploding, throwing little bits all over the screen. And frequently I would get lost and have no idea what I was supposed to do, so I just started shooting things randomly. And then there's the voice commands, which you don't have to use. You can just not plug in a microphone and give commands manually with buttons, the old-fashioned way. But any small technical problems this game might have are immediately forgivable when the plot is actually engaging, something very few games do well. There's a corporation in Japan which is violating international law and creating robots that look like humans. You're part of an international team sent in to arrest the evil mastermind responsible, and yes, you'll be blowing up a lot of robots on your way. Always unsure of who around you might actually be a hollow child, as they call them. Artificial persons, replicants, skin jobs. They don't even know that they're robots. Dun dun dun! The dialogue is sufficiently cheesy to always keep you laughing.
You have a shower?
And there's the constant sexual tension between you and your sniper, Faye, who always likes it when you talk dirty to her, by the way. Never compliment Faye.
Looks like I misjudged you. Think you can keep it up? That's what I want to hear.
Binary Domain is filled with fun characters and a beautiful environment that seems to be sparsely populated. So while the game certainly left a lot of room for improvement, it just nails it with a catchy storyline and fun, predictable action gameplay. While this does have some multiplayer options, I think it's really a good single-player game. And you're basically being scored points as well. When you shoot robots, you earn credits that you can spend on character modifications and weapon upgrades. And you can approach it like an arcade game. To score the most points, you can pick the robots apart bit by bit. Instead of just trying to shoot them in the head, you can take out their legs, their arms, their chest, and then their head, which gives you the maximum amount of points. I'll tell you that I am a binary domain fan. This is the PlayStation 3 version. It's also on Xbox 360, and I like the uncertainty of never knowing who around me might be a robot, which is why I always carry an electromagnet and a smile. It's binary domain, highly recommended for you science fiction action video game fans.
Banished from Earth Classic Game Room broadcasts from the Intergalactic Space Arcade on its never-ending mission to review everything. Welcome to Classic Game Room, where you know I love the Dynasty Warriors series and giant robots that can step on people. Therefore, I think it's safe to assume I'm going to like this game. It's Dynasty Warriors Gundam 2 for the PS3. Enjoy.
Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Out of my way!
This game is all about the dialogue. Actually, it's not. It's all about the giant robots and the explosions and the countless hours of button mashing. It's Dynasty Warriors Gundam 2. That's right. They made a second one right in between the first and the third. It's pretty good, and it's also dirt cheap and a lot of fun. At this point, I've lost count of the number of Dynasty Warriors games and related spin-offs that I've played. They've made a lot of them because it's a winning formula that never gets old and can be reskinned with anything. Any major franchise that has a lot of characters can be turned into a Dynasty Warriors game. Gundam, The Legend of Zelda, Dragon Quest, My Little Pony. I'm still waiting for that one.
Wait, dummy! Die!
Tell me a Dynasty Warriors My Little Pony game wouldn't sell like hotcakes. Smothering Pokemon. As a general rule, it's safe to assume that if you've played one of the more recent Dynasty Warriors games, you've played them all. They're all pretty similar, and this one feels like an older one, not because it's bad or it looks bad or it doesn't play well, but because the menu structure is pretty archaic compared to the newer ones, but I think it looks great and plays well on the PlayStation 3. You can also get this on PlayStation 2, by the way, for those of you still clinging to the past. Not like me, of course, not like Atari fanboy Mark. They should make one of these Dynasty Warriors games for the Atari. Wait, they did. I think it was called Robotron.
Get him!
Speaking of robots, how about those mobile suits? They're like suits of robot. To be fair, I'm still not that fluent in Gundam. I'm slowly making my way through them and have become familiar with a couple of the characters and mobile suits. Which really means that you don't have to know anything about Gundam to enjoy this game. However, you do have to enjoy the Dynasty Warriors games. If you don't like any of them, you're not going to like this one either. And, surprise, as it turns out, I do like all of them, because they're reasonably simple and fun.
Take this! Yeah!
They look cool, there's blinky lights and explosions. Every Dynasty Warriors game plays pretty much the same. You see that map on the top right? Aim for the blinky things and kill them until they're gone.
Get him!
For the most part, like the other Dynasty Warriors games, this isn't that challenging, just pay attention to the map and where you have to go. Occasionally, though, you do run into some pretty tough boss battles, so repeat gameplay is a must. That way you level your characters up, and there's a whole leveling up system with the various mobile suits, but I'm not sure I really figured any of that out. You pick a character and play through their storylines, and then of course you like unlock new mobile suits and stuff.
Full power, Hayato!
Let's do it, Amuro.
It plays pretty much like you would expect it to. There's no real surprises here. It's just good old Dynasty Warriors action with Gundam things.
I will fight!
Now, as I understand it, from what I've heard, Dynasty Warriors Gundam 3 is the best in the series. There was another one after that, but they're all pretty much the same as far as I can tell. You hack and slash things with giant robots. You either like it or you don't. Sure, it's repetitive, there's not much depth, it's the same thing over and over again, but if you like that, like I do, it's fun and relaxing, and this game delivers. That's why I enjoy the Dynasty Warriors games. I don't really have to think. I just get out there and mash buttons, level up. Sometimes I have to figure out something with a boss battle or whatever, but usually it's not that complicated. And if it is, there's always the internet. Like any of these games, different button combos will give you different attacks. You get special attacks. There's a whole lot of different robots, or mobile suits to choose from. And while I don't really care about the storyline in this game at all, there's a bunch of storylines. You don't need to pay attention to them at all to enjoy the game. Just kill everything until the bosses show up, kill all of them, and then move on to the next level and destroy everything on that. They're so much fun. These are great go-to games for late-night relaxing gaming sessions. I always go for Dynasty Warriors games, or Warriors Orochi, or Dragon Quest Heroes.
No more money business!
Or this one now. I'm a big fan of Dynasty Warriors Gundam too, and I've got a classic game room shout-out and thank you going to Stan from Toronto in Canada! Thank you, Stan, who wrote me a note. He thinks the second one is the best installment in the series.
No more money business!
I've enjoyed most of the Gundam games I've played, and pretty much all the Dynasty Warriors games. And Dynasty Warriors Gundam Reborn was a lot of fun. This one's a lot of fun. You really can't go wrong, and it's so cheap. Just pick it up and play it and have fun. Hack and slash, hack and slash, hack and slash, hack and slash, go to 10, repeat. You know the drill.
I want to protect the world! Out of my way! Give up now. You're through. Let my friends die.
Not bad at all.
Gotcha! You're mine!
Away from me!
I can see the future.
You know when Dynasty Warriors games aren't fun? When your expectations are too high and you expect some kind of plot progression, or if you're stuck inside the R zone.
Get up!
Those are the only two times when Dynasty Warriors games aren't fun. Otherwise, they're all great.
Some
Get away from me!
I highly recommend this one. Dynasty Warriors Gundam. Chew.
I'm going down!
get up!
Banished from Earth Classic Game Room broadcasts from the Intergalactic Space Arcade on its never-ending mission to review everything.
Oh, great!
Welcome to Classic Game Room. Are you ready to beat up enemies with style and glasses? If so, you're ready for Bayonetta, one of the best action games I've played in years. Now, who would win in this fight of lady video game characters? Bayonetta, Lara Croft, or Ms. Pac-Man? Just think about that. That would be an interesting battle. One wears short shorts and dual wields pistols. The other pulls a chainsaw out of who knows where, and Ms. Pac-Man will take all of your money and leave you with a sore wrist. I think it's a three-way tie. They're all good. And they're all way out of your league, especially Bayonetta, who's a sultry witch that wears guns for shoes.
Long since erased from the records of time.
This is one of these games where I immediately stopped paying attention to the plot and immersed myself in the gameplay, because Bayonetta is terrific. On the surface, it could be described as a more cinematic and stylish Devil May Cry or God of War, but it's got its own thing. From Platinum Games, who's known for doing great work, Bayonetta's greatest asset is Bayonetta, who turns out to be an incredibly likable and interesting character. She's a witch who wears a suit made from her own hair, and somehow after a while this all seems to make complete logical sense. The madness is driven by the game's excellent cinematics and wonderful use of music. It's all over the place, but it just works. It works really well.
If I needed a biographer, you wouldn't be my first choice. I see to the funeral. You get me the information I asked for.
The directing is great and makes the cutscenes stand out way above average. She's always doing something interesting or fiddling with her glasses or something. And all of the characters are eccentric and kind of bizarre, which of course totally fits the game. But let's move on to the gameplay. While it's probably not something you haven't seen before if you've played games like Devil May Cry or God of War, Bayonetta is fast, fun, and tricky. This is an action beat-em-up where you learn moves and combos. You can only get so far with button mashing, so eventually you'll have to learn how to counter and activate Witch Time, which slows everything down and allows you to cause increased damage. There's a lot of boss battles, and when you win, you finish them off like, well, this. It's so bizarre, you gotta love it. It feels like a pretty lengthy game the first time you play through it. There's lots of different environments, and they're all really well done too. Lots of detail, lots of stuff hidden throughout. The level designs are super cool. They're not just lava pits and jungle. It's like you're fighting through some kind of weird-ass fairy tale. When the enemies attack, if you roll out of the way at the last moment, you'll activate Witch Time. And that can be tricky depending on how many enemies you're fighting and how fast they are. It looks and sounds great. Bayonetta can be found on PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and Wii U. The sequel, Bayonetta 2, can be found on the Wii U. As you play through the game, you'll unlock new moves and learn new combos and get new weapons and stuff. I think Bayonetta was made to be played more than once, though. It took me the entire game just to figure out what to do. So I think once you learn the basics and understand the different boss battles, it just gets more fun from there. Few games blend style and substance together as effortlessly as Bayonetta does. It plays as good as it looks. And that's not always the case. In fact, that's not usually the case. If only your climax finishing moves were even bigger and crazier. Come on! Why don't you treat the enemy like a volleyball? Great stuff. Highly recommended. Bayonetta.
Brr, it just sends a shiver up my spine. It's so cold fighting the Hellgast. How about some hot jams? Yeah, getting warmer already. What else generates heat? Oh, I know. Flamethrowers! It's like we're doing the Hellgast a favor. Who needs a coat when you're on fire? Oh, look at this guy. He wants a hug. Come here. I got something for you. Where's the disco ball? It's Hellgast Inferno. Haha, get some marshmallows and make some s'mores. It's all about sharing the love, and there's a variety of different ways to light people on fire and blow them up in this game. It is Killzone 3 after all. Twice the action, 3 times the groovy. They do the hustle when they're on fire. Your friends return as the game picks up where Killzone 2 left off. Rico is still angry, and Sevchenko looks even more like Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
It wouldn't be a very exciting sequel if their luck improved, which it hasn't, as the ISA continues to fight the evil space Nazi Hellgast Empire. Only this time the odds are even more against them.
The ISA forces are in disarray. Within 3 hours, my forces will overwhelm them. Vasari's killers will not survive.
While you certainly don't need to have played Killzone 2 to enjoy Killzone 3, I would recommend it. Because while it's not a deep storyline by any means, and the characters are a bit one-dimensional, they've actually got a decent backstory and come across as charming and likable, especially if you've been following Killzone from the beginning. And Killzone 3 will not disappoint fans of Killzone 1 or Killzone 2. It's pretty much more of the same, but it's absolutely beautiful, with incredible slick visuals and sound design on the PlayStation 3, as you'll slaughter your way through the campaign and then blow up your friends in multiplayer. Well-made shooters may be a dime a dozen these days, but Killzone 3 stands out because of its stylish, slick delivery in all aspects. Gameplay is solid and predictable, with increasingly challenging waves of enemies, and the campaign mixes it up between your standard first-person shooter action and some very cool shooter-on-rails sequences. And it's not done there, there's also some other cards up its sleeve.
Come on, let's move back.
Like the mech battle suits and jetpacks. In addition to non-stop action, guns, and explosions, Killzone 3 has a nice sense of refinement. It's the kind of shooter you could invite to a fine dinner with your parents and have it impress everyone with its wit and table manners, yet know that it would still destroy everything in the room if given the chance. Note the level of detail in everything in this game, especially the backgrounds. I have to admit that I actually think the jetpacks look cooler than they really are. Even though it didn't happen, I kept having this nagging feeling like they were going to get hung up in something behind me as I was turning around. But I really like this thing. Basically, I dig the game. I've been a fan of Killzone for a while. I played the second one, then I played the first one, and I find this to be a worthy sequel to the excellent Killzone 2. Like your other big-budget shooters, such as Halo, Call of Duty, Resistance, or Metal Head on the 32X, Killzone 3 succeeds because it's just another Killzone with more refinement. It has the same silly sense of action movie charm that was lost in the 80s, and returns with games like this.
In part 2 of this review, I'll show you multiplayer and bot zone. Without spoiling the ending of the game, there's lots of explosions, people dance when they're lit on fire, and yes, Rico still has a foul mouth. It's Killzone 3. It's Killzone 3 multiplayer, and it's the curse of classic game room. If I'm ever on your team recording for a review, that team loses. Even when I'm holding up my end, it still loses. I bring sadness to many. Did you see that? That was the single greatest multiplayer gaming moment of my life. I actually did something right. I look at 3 things when reviewing multiplayer shooters, and the first one, the most important one, is it fast and easy to set up a game? Yes. Killzone 3 works very well. It's a lot like Halo 3 in that respect. It's just super intuitive. Matchmaking is fast and efficient, and it seems to always let you know how much more time you have to wait. Number 2, are there lots of other people playing? And Killzone 3, being one of the PlayStation 3's premier titles, has a massive audience, so that's also helpful because you don't want your multiplayer games empty. And the third criteria is the most simple. It's whether or not the game works and runs smoothly. This one does. Killzone 3 gets top marks in all 3 categories that I care about. It's very straightforward. I was able to jump in and level my character up and start unlocking things right away. I didn't feel like I was being sniped in the head repeatedly, or nuked from orbit, or shot with a cruise missile, or dying before I even respawned. It's clear-cut, first-person shooter multiplayer gameplay that works with lots of people. Period. Like any multiplayer shooter these days, there's a variety of different gameplay options. I like just standard team deathmatch. There's a couple well-designed maps, but not as many as I expected. I'm sure there's more coming. There's multiple character classes, and I went with Engineer because I can't aim, so I like to just mow down everything with a giant machine gun. This one here with the sniper rifle is the Marksman. And I got you from the grave. I'm so proud of myself. The Engineer has the best machine gun, and he can also repair things and set up automated sentry bots everywhere. Like the things from BioShock, so I kept naming them. This guy here was Chester, and without him, we would have been without the robotic moral support to win this round. Hooray! 3 cheers for Chester! The curse has been broken! Now every team— No, never mind. I was wrong. In addition to traditional multiplayer, you can also play Bot Zone in Killzone 3, which is like multiplayer except bots. Oh, come on, that was a dick move. I'm just doing my job repairing things for experience points. I dub the Arthur, the robot. Now shoot bad guys. Killzone 3 multiplayer. It works the way that it should. And that's the way it should work.
Congratulations. You are certified as the 11th best hitman. How about getting rid of the 10 killers above you?
Such a gentleman.
Do you have a PlayStation Move? Are you looking for a fun, family-friendly title on your PS3? Well, this is not it. No More Heroes, Heroes Paradise is a remastered version of the original No More Heroes, which was released on the Nintendo Wii in 2007.
Hello, Travis.
The series is creative and known for its ultra-violence and sexual themes. It's pretty much the textbook definition of an adult-themed game. And in the long run, it may be a better fit for the audience on the PlayStation 3. No More Heroes was designed with motion controls in mind and works quite well with the PlayStation Move on the PS3. Originally, I missed the first game, but really enjoyed the sequel, No More Heroes 2, which was on the Nintendo Wii. And for the most part, this is pretty similar. You slice and dice your way through waves of minions until you finally reach an end boss and do away with them in some kind of elaborate, grotesque fashion, which increases your rank as an international killer. While most of the game is simple hacking and slashing, the end bosses in particular can be quite challenging, but always make way for some extremely entertaining and well-done cutscenes.
Wait a minute. Are you getting a little sentimental? Still green, aren't you? You know this is only the beginning.
Call me when the next one's arranged.
Game set!
Stylistically, the game is brilliant, and the remastered visuals look great on the PlayStation 3, but not as good as a game initially designed for HD on the PS3 to begin with. This is most noticeable in the open-world driving scenes around town, which frankly get a bit old after a while. But once you get into the core of the gameplay and the storyline, I don't think you'll mind the remastered visuals one bit. There's plenty of eye candy and lots of action. But the action does get to be a bit repetitive after a while and usually consists of the same moves over and over again. No More Heroes, Heroes Paradise shines because of the style and the unique storyline. It's a very large game and one that will keep you busy for a while, as you have to earn money to compete in these ranked matches. Which means that you can drive around town and kick open every trash can or dig for treasure, complete mundane and completely ridiculous side jobs, or take out waves of enemy goons in assassination missions. You have a hotel room where you can refresh, relax, and change your outfit, as well as admire your Sega Genesis, Sega CD, and 32X adapter in the background. Nice touch. Extra credit for that. You can buy new outfits, there's t-shirts to find laying around, and even though the exploration part of No More Heroes is not very interesting, the game itself is.
Don't we?
Shall we?
You will need a PlayStation Move to enjoy this game on your PS3. It works with the motion controller and the nunchuck thing, or your standard PS3 controller, which is actually what I'm using. You run around using the analog stick on the PS3 controller, or that other, the nunchuck thing, and lock onto enemies with the L2 button. Meanwhile, using the Move controller for button attacks and finishing moves. If you like what you see on screen during this review, this is just the tip of the iceberg. I'm just showing you some of the early stuff. There's many more bad guys to hack and slash your way through. Also, after you save your game on the toilet, you can fight dream battles against opponents from No More Heroes 2. So, give your PlayStation Move a workout. It's No More Heroes, Heroes Paradise, on the PlayStation 3.
Castlevania Lords of Shadow. If your idea of an excellent video game is a visually stunning epic adventure filled with challenge, struggle, and frustration, then you're ready to step into the shoes of Gabriel Belmont and challenge Castlevania Lords of Shadow. But if your idea of a fun video game is button mashing combined with non-stop hack and slash gameplay, then you might want to look elsewhere. This is one for those of you who think that most games have gotten too easy. Haha! Not so, says Castlevania Lords of Shadow. Remember when Castlevania games used to kick your ass? Well, that time is back. But am I up for a lengthy struggle? A deep question that you may or may not need to ask when making your decision on whether or not you want to challenge Castlevania Lords of Shadow. An easy mistake would be to point your finger at the screen and say, this is like Castlevania meets God of War. No, not really. This is more like Castlevania meets Mirror's Edge. The gameplay is totally different, but it's the kind of game that's this beautiful visual masterpiece you want to experience and play through, but its definition of play through is stop and start gameplay. You won't go anywhere easily. Castlevania Lords of Shadow encourages you to replay levels and go back and explore after you've sufficiently strengthened your character. There's areas that you can't even reach until you've equipped various things and have become stronger, and replaying levels the second or third time is a lot of fun. It's playing them the first time that becomes a bit tedious. This game is a lot slower than God of War. This game is a lot slower than Dante's Inferno. These games may all live in the same genre and share similar elements, and they're all visually stunning masterpieces, but the pacing is totally different. This is like the equivalent of the 12-hour cut of Lord of the Rings. You either like it or you don't. It's beautiful. It gives you more time to appreciate the incredible visuals and the impeccable design and detail and music, but after a while it feels a bit laborious. And I like mindless button-mashing, non-stop gameplay. But I also like beautiful visuals and rich music and production value. This game walks a fine line between fun and majestic. The gameplay is intentionally tricky. You will have to be good at timing and memorization to get through Castlevania Lords of Shadow. For instance, blocking is essential. You have to become good at blocking, and I never block in video games. You've also got to learn every trick in the book. Like other games in this genre, there's various button combinations that you unlock as you play through the game, giving you different attacks. You essentially have light magic and dark magic, giving you an even wider variety of ways to approach each battle and regenerate health during combat. And then there's quick-time events on top of that, which will frequently attack you when you least expect it. I'm slaughtering my way through Rivendell. Now seriously, button mashers need not apply. It's just not that kind of game. I think this will appeal to those who enjoy the challenge in the God of War series. I think this will appeal to those of you who enjoyed the excellent Demon's Souls. And this is one of those games where you get what you pay for. Like Frogger. Castlevania Lords of Shadow packs a massive campaign that encourages you to play it multiple times. Like the first time that you get any upgrade in this game, you'll want to go back and play the first couple levels, because you can then get to new areas, get new health, increase your magic power, earn experience points to buy new moves. And trust me, you'll need all the health and magic that you can get. And because the camera perspective is controlled by the game, you don't have control of the camera with the right analog stick. There's areas in the levels which are somewhat hidden unless you explore the entire level, and they're very intricate. So exploration is a big part of Castlevania Lords of Shadow, except it's annoying when you explore and find something that you just can't unlock yet, because then you gotta remember to go back there later. It's just that kind of game. It doesn't make life easy for you, but it does reward you with a very cool storyline and a memorable, visually stunning adventure. I could have spent the entire review just gushing about the audio and visuals in this game, and they shouldn't go overlooked because it's just stunning. Production value is amazing in here, and I don't think they should be taken for granted because clearly a lot of work went into Castlevania Lords of Shadow.
This is one of those games that really should be enjoyed on a giant HD TV with surround sound. I love the parts when he's rappelling into caverns and there's waterfalls all around you, and the designers have just placed you into this environment. But it's an environment which is more fun to play through the second time. Unless you're like the master of these games. I always ran into boss battles and had to play them 4 or 5 times just to figure out what I was supposed to do. But that's me, I'm a button masher. My solution is always the same. Call for air support, nuke the entire place from orbit, find the nearest space station with a good bar and pinball machine, and spend the rest of the day there. As with any game this beautiful that takes itself this seriously, any technical glitches stand out and jump off the screen. There's a few instances where I had to restart a level because I threw away a lever that was needed to open a door. Some of the puzzles were irritating. And at times it just feels like it needed a good laugh. Like a fart joke or something. Thrown in out of place. Just to lighten the mood. It's so heavy. It's the Lords of Shadow. Maybe they can make an expansion pack. Castlevania. Lords of Acid. Xevious Resurrection, part of the Namco Museum Essentials collection for PlayStation 3. Resurrection. Konami gives us games like Contra Rebirth and Castlevania Rebirth. Namco gives us Resurrections. Basically, they mean the same thing, updated versions of their classic arcade games. This is an updated remake of Xevious, but not a direct copy of the old game with fancy graphics. It's an all-new game, which has a lot in common with the original Xevious, one of the earliest popular vertical scrolling shooters. Basically, the gameplay is the same. You shoot and you bomb. You don't rely on fancy, ultra-powerful special weapons in Xevious. That's what makes it challenging. You dodge things frequently, in fact, pretty much all the time. Unlike other games like Raiden where you can survive by being very stationary, Xevious requires constant movement because lasers and other things will lock onto you and track you and follow you and shoot you. One of the major differences here is that your spaceship is equipped with a shield, which will give you some moderate protection against some enemy shots. For those new to spaceship shooters, what I just did there was very wrong. I flew into a laser beam. That never works. I thought maybe I was being clever, like, haha, the enemy won't suspect this, because it was the stupidest move ever. I just lost a multi-trillion-dollar spaceship. Fortunately, I have another one. Nah, I'm kidding, I just screwed up. Like the original Xevious Resurrection starts off fairly easy, and then slowly ramps up the difficulty to an absolutely crushing level. Not a game for the meek. If you're looking for a good, challenging shooter, Xevious is always one to rely on to deliver. And check this out, I'm playing this game with a Sega Saturn-style PlayStation 3 controller with a USB connector. So it's like I'm playing Galactic Attack or Layer Section on my Sega Saturn, except it's Xevious Resurrection on the PlayStation 3. Watch my review of that Sega Saturn PlayStation 3 controller. It's outstanding for spaceship shooters. The Sega Saturn gamepad has always been one of the best for spaceship games, and the fact that you can use one on the PS3 is just a dream come true. Now, if only they'd bring over Radiant Silvergun as a $9 download.
Xevious Resurrection has some nice remixes of the classic music and sound effects from the original game. Although since they were obviously making this for high-definition gameplay, I wish they would have filled the screen with Xevious gameplay. I don't know why these spaceship games are the last ones to do that. Even the Raiden games, the recent Raiden releases, as good as they are, would benefit from filling the screen. Hey, a familiar end boss. Just like Raiden 4, Xevious Resurrection can be played 2 players, co-op, on screen at the same time. And this game is worth the full purchase price of Namco Museum Essentials, as far as I'm concerned. But wait, there's more. Not only do you get Xevious Resurrection, you also get the original Xevious, Dig Dug Pac-Man, Dragon Spirit, and Galaga. One of the best bargains in the PlayStation network. Now this is where the game starts getting tricky. Not only are there standard shots being fired at you, there's those laser things that aim at you and then sort of hover there, and there's missiles chasing you. It all makes for an exciting game, one that requires repeat gameplay, and this next end boss is one that's still causing me problems. It's an excellent buy, maybe not as insane and crazy as some other similar games like Galactic Attack, where you have missiles and stuff flying all over the screen, taking out enemies before you see them, but that's what makes it Xevious. And it comes packed in with 5 other amazing games. Namco Museum Essentials and Xevious Resurrection, highly recommended for fans of spaceship shooters. It's Asura's Wrath, a video game that plunges your heart into the depths of madness, which sounds kind of artsy and is fittingly descriptive of this game. If it looks good to you, then you may want to enter the world of Asura's Wrath, part anime, part video game, all imaginative. It's an action game that borrows a lot from everything out there, but is unlike everything out there. Therefore, the final product is uniquely its own. It's Asura's Wrath. Published by Capcom, I personally really enjoyed this game. It's a great story and adventure, although a lot of viewers may find it lacking the challenging gameplay that you may expect. For starters, there's a lot of quick-time events, and it doesn't really punish you if you miss any of them, which makes this feel like a semi-interactive anime, and there's nothing wrong with that provided you're into it. I was immediately hooked within the first 5 seconds of this game here when it establishes itself as a visual masterpiece and introduces Asura, one of the 8 Guardian Generals, who's fighting these Goma things that are ripping out of the Earth and trying to destroy a space fleet. I mean, this is pretty much right on my level here. The animation is incredible, and I could spend all day talking about how good this game looks. Which is good, because in the end, you'll spend most of your time watching it, instead of playing it. And I'm not going to fault Asura's Wrath for that. It's just how this game is. And you'll either like it, or you won't.
The power of my 8 Guardian Generals is invincible! May Shinkoku prosper in everlasting glory!
To make a long story short, Asura is essentially kicked out of the Guardian General Club after he's framed for killing the Emperor or whoever that guy is. His daughter is kidnapped, and then he's banished, which, not surprisingly, really pisses him off. And he'll spend the rest of the game tearing all of his former general friends to bits while also destroying hundreds of trillions of dollars worth of spaceships. All the while going, he's not a man of many words. And that's Asura's Wrath in a nutshell. The gameplay mixes up styles and genres nicely between different cinematic events, but on the whole, none of it is terribly challenging, and it's really there just for you to enjoy the experience and storytelling. It's like a super hyper-stylized version of Heavy Rain with more combat. But if you like quick-time events and some fights where you can just mash buttons, then you'll love this. I particularly enjoyed this part where this guy tries to crush him from outer space with his finger. This kind of stuff is this game's strength. Oh, and hey, can you guess what Asura has to say about this? It's easy, it's one word with lots of R's. The visual directing in Asura's Wrath is really good and just outshines the gameplay in every way. But it's still fun, however, unlike a lot of games, you want to get through the fights just to get back to the storytelling. So it's like the complete opposite of Metal Gear Solid. The story in Asura's Wrath is told using an episodic format, and many of the episodes have different art styles. So playing through this thing feels like you're watching Pulp Fiction or Kill Bill for the first time. It never settles into its own one style. It's kind of all over the place, and it plays like that too. I, for one, enjoyed these space shooting style sequences. In conclusion, Asura's Wrath is a bit of a mixed bag, but a really good-looking bag with a fun story. This is the PlayStation 3 version. It's also on Xbox 360. If you like the idea of playing an anime, then you'll probably like Asura's Wrath. Welcome back to PlayStation Home, July 2010, and for the 4th of July and Canada Day, there's a special celebratory feeling in PlayStation Home, as well as some free t-shirts. Alright, it's celebration time like Kool and the Gang times 2. There have been a number of changes and additions to PlayStation Home since the last time I visited. However, it feels like PlayStation Home gets 1/2 of 1% of the budget that, say, the push to move everything 3D gets. And you know what? Nobody is going to buy 3D with your stupid glasses. So, what happens when something so promising, like PlayStation Home, gets a fraction of the percent of the budget that it should get? Well, things move very slowly, and it doesn't really work all that well, but it still has so much potential. PlayStation Home could really be an amazing community for PlayStation owners, with deep, important, life-changing conversations like this one. Bark. Bark. How many people have the word death in their screen name? Anyway, here's something new, the Teleport-a-Potty. Clever, it kind of reminds me of the suicide booths in Futurama. And after taking a trip to the Midway, you'll wish that it was. The Midway is like a carnival, an interesting concept that more than slightly flawed in execution. Now, most people think I'm easy on reviewing video games because I look for what's fun in a game. I do. I like video games. Because there's almost always something that will appeal to someone. But the Midway is a major disappointment. Because I did not see what was fun about it. And it was really, really buggy when I played it. It is cheap though, and you're not going to get BioShock 2 quality for 99 cents. Well, in a few years you might. So for the price of a cup of coffee, I'd rather have coffee. You pay 99 cents for about 50 plays on these carnival games, which are about as simple as Atari 2600 games from back in the day, but they don't work as well. You can find far better games in PlayStation Home at some other locations for free, and also win t-shirts and hats and prizes, and that's basically what you're paying your 99 cents for. A couple t-shirts. So if that's worth it to you, and you can put up with it crashing your PlayStation, which it did to mine, and some other people's, then go for it. But don't say I didn't warn you. Alright, I've got to get this review back on a positive note. Back to my own pub. Haha. They really need to somehow get real beer to come out of the PlayStation. That would also be more useful than 3D, and probably cost less to develop, at least successfully, and give me less of a headache. At least, well, until the next day. Oh, here's the part where I'm trying to figure out what words are actually censored in PlayStation Home.
Don't forget to tell all your friends to join you. The grander the group.
Now, there's obviously some words that probably should be bleeped to make it a fun, friendly community environment, but others I'm not sure if it bleeped or not. Like, she seemed to get really upset about me asking about the penguins.
PlayStation.
Does that come through bleeped on the other end? I don't know. One of the great mysteries of the universe. Anyway, not much has changed in the mall, although there are some new apartments and outfits that you can purchase. In this week's episode of Carnage in Charge, the Big Daddy runs around asking girls about the penguins, all of whom think he's talking about something else. Lessons are learned and laughs are had, ha ha ha. Yeah, the underwater lair is kind of nice, but a bit boring when you're not being attacked by splicers. That's really the big problem with PlayStation Home, not specifically the splicers, although you have to admit they would splice things up. It needs more action, it needs a bigger budget. I'll applaud them for the whole 4th of July thing. That was kind of cool to show up and see balloons and flags and get some t-shirts, but they should just surprise people and have some days where everybody is attacked by, well, splicers, why not? Walking trash cans, anything. Anything would be better than nothing. It seems like they're trying things. I'll give them credit for that. I'm downloading the Playground here, which is another free social environment. But the communication tools are still really sloppy in PlayStation Home. I have to use Twitter to try to set up PlayStation Home events. Hey, now look at this. This is nice. They programmed a boombox playing cool music. That had to be a lot easier to do than, say, trying to force hundreds of thousands of people into buying 3D glasses and new televisions. If there were more boomboxes playing good music, I think more people would be interested in PlayStation Home, and then you could sell them cool things like underwater lairs if there were boomboxes playing music in their underwater lairs so that you could invite your friends over and hang out and have like a real party. Virtually, but still better than just silence. I can't stand the lack of music in home, so it's nice to find music anywhere, but there has to be a higher profit margin in selling fake t-shirts and fake environments, rather than watching 3D fail miserably. because they're on the right track with some of this, like the song title on the bottom left. Now if I want to buy this song, I know what it's called. How is that less cool than 3D glasses? It's not. It's way cooler than 3D glasses. Anyway, follow Classic Game Room on Twitter, all one word, Classic Game Room, so you can hear about the next one of these. I try to do them at least bi-monthly, schedule permitting, because home is changing, even though it's at a snail's pace. Blah! Prepare to be assimilated. Humanity has failed against the Chimera invasion, and it's up to hero Joseph Capelli to save the day instead of Nathan Hale. And you learn quickly that Joseph fights not just for humanity, but for his wife and son. Resistance 3 picks up where Resistance 2 left off. And while you don't have to have played the first two PS3 Resistance games to enjoy this one, I would recommend it. The Resistance series from Insomniac has been a PS3 fan favorite from the beginning, and for good reason. It's awesome. Great action, level designs, cool weapons, and awesome firefights that take place in the fictional past of the Chimera invasion. Weapons like the Augur return, as well as others, such as the Bullseye, which have been modified or enhanced for Resistance 3. This game also has PlayStation Move support. It's 3D compatible with 3D televisions, and you can play two-player cooperatively through the campaign, either online or split-screen locally. Joseph and family were hiding out in Oklahoma until the Chimera arrived with giant, awesome-looking terraformers. Upon some new information that the Earth is about to be frozen and pretty much destroyed anyway, Joe heads to New York City to stop the scumbag aliens once and for all. Now, one of the features I love in this game is leveling up your weapons. That gives you added incentive to use every gun in your arsenal, as each time they earn a star during campaign firefights. You get some cool perks like Incendiary Shot, additional zoom, and other fun ways to wreak havoc and obliterate the alien invaders. Prepare to be swarmed by zombie-style enemies, and keep your shotgun handy for close encounters of the awesome kind. So is the campaign good? Well, it's pretty much more of the same, and fans of the Resistance series will certainly want to play Resistance 3. But don't expect it to be better than Resistance 2, because it's not. Also, the game can be really buggy at times, but you can light your enemies on fire with a shotgun. Kind of evens out. Even with some cool new weapons and the gun leveling up feature, I feel like I've played every level in this game before, in a previous Resistance game. And for what it's worth, Resistance Fall of Man and Resistance 2 were so good that they're hard games to top. And this game trips over its own feet the moment you land in Pennsylvania. The levels in the Keystone State are really subpar for the series and seem like they were inserted just to slow the game down a bit and make Joseph's life a bit more difficult on his adventure to the Big Apple. The train battle is terrible. Just throw up an auger shield because the rednecks attacking you are stupid. In fact, their inclusion in this game is stupid. Fighting these guys seems like a waste of time after battling the Chimera for the first 2.5 games. And they seem like a feral group of Mad Max Extra outcasts. Holed up in a prison in Pennsylvania, at least they give you a sledgehammer, which turns out to be a fun weapon to use in the game.
We have to disable the drones first, then we'll come back.
While Resistance 3 certainly has a low point, it has many high points as well, namely the awesome battles that play out like the other ones in previous Resistance games. And Resistance 3 has health packs. which add additional challenge to some of the more difficult firefights, as you can't just hide behind something and regenerate your health or shield. You have to find a health pack, or at least kick over a trash can and look for an apple or turkey breast. Ah, the freezing gun is a nice touch. Didn't I use this in BioShock? There's some cool features that you unlock when you win the game, a good storyline overall, one that fits in with the rest of the series. And of course there's multiplayer, which I'll cover in part 2. Resistance 3 is a lot of fun. I'm a fan of this series and I enjoy the game, but it's not as exciting as Resistance 2. But it's still a fun playthrough, and they give you a bunch of other features that should make for some good repeat gameplay. And as I mentioned, they added co-op, and there's multiplayer. It's Resistance 3. It's more of the same, but when more of the same is playing Resistance, then count me in. See you back here in part 2. For many of you, the biggest and best feature of Resistance 3 will be its multiplayer, which, like every other multiplayer shooter on the market, requires you to play and earn experience in order to level your character up, unlock new weapons and character skins. The things that I like to see in multiplayer are smooth gameplay, a fast connecting time that doesn't give me a headache while waiting for games to start, a friendly environment where I don't have to hear a bunch of kids swearing at each other, and a lot of people playing. Because without that, what's the point in multiplayer? Unless you're just playing against your friends. Anyway, for the most part, Resistance 3 gets great marks on all of those things. It's a popular game, so there were a lot of people on at pretty much any given time. It seemed friendly to newcomers, and I was actually able to stay alive for a few games. In fact, I did pretty well for the most part. The gameplay reminds me a lot of Killzone 3, which is also good. It's not too fast, but it's not too slow, so for those who aren't multiplayer experts like me, at first-person shooters, it's a fun game with a variety of different mission types and objectives, and really the most important thing is that there's other people playing, and it works. It works like it should. That's sometimes a hard thing to get right. We're watching a team deathmatch here. The shotgun is my weapon of choice. You unlock that after a few levels. It's nice for people who can't aim, like me, because you just get up close and blow away the enemy. From watching the gameplay, you can probably also pick up a bunch of the other cool stuff that comes with Resistance 3 multiplayer, like shields and some invisibility if you can string some kills together. Goodbye, and I'll collect some experience points and level up. Let's take a look at Capture the Flag, where yours truly actually captured the flag a few times. Normally I'm too busy dying to do that, but after memorizing a few of the levels, it turned out to be a fun challenge. The levels themselves are fairly standard, nothing really stands out. They basically look like multiplayer levels based on levels from the campaign, like usual. The games that I was playing have you play as the humans for one part of the level, and then it flips over after you win or lose, and then has you playing as the alien dirtbags. Now what you're watching here is classic game room history, because I'm terrible at multiplayer, so I never do anything right. And I actually captured the flag. Not just once, but twice this game. Resistance 3 multiplayer delivers the way that it should. It works, there's lots of people playing, it's smooth, and it has a fast connection speed. I'm satisfied, and I think if you pick up the game, you will be too. It's Resistance 3. Let's watch some explosions and mayhem.
calls out to you. You'd heard of Mermaid's legendary curiosity.
What do you need?
Welcome to Classic Game Room, where I've got two great things that go well together, Dragons and Disco. This is the review of Dragon's Crown, coming to you from the Intergalactic Space Arcade. This is Dragon's Crown from Atlas, a downloadable game replete with magic and heaving bosoms. How does she even walk around with those things? That's gotta be top-heavy. This is a stylish, fun, yet predictable action-adventure RPG-style side-scrolling beat-em-up game, released exclusively as of this review for the PlayStation 3 and Vita. You choose one of the many character classes, name them, and off you go on your adventure, slaughtering creatures, grinding, and leveling up. You can play with up to 3 of your friends for a 4-player game, and you'll be mashing buttons a lot. What you see on screen is pretty much what you get with Dragon's Crown. The game's visuals and quirky sense of humor remind me of Monty Python and Terry Gilliam's animations in particular. While I've played a lot of games like this, the visual style, which is like a live-action painting, makes Dragon's Crown stand out from the crowd. There's the plot, something about a dragon's crown. Okay, good for it. More importantly, there's an absinthe fairy named Tiki who's passed out in a stein of mead. Now, aspiring game developers and programmers, pay attention to this. If your video game can't have flamethrowers in El Camino or burning people with monsters and cutting them in half-itude, it should at least have an absinthe fairy passed out in a stein of mead while holding a cherry.
A half-naked woman is lying in a dark corner, bound by a chain.
Right, okay, so we've got all this and lizard people with spears. As you can see, Dragon's Crown has a lot going for it, and if you enjoy good old button-mashing RPG adventures, you should check this one out. It's not terribly expensive. And the music and art is quite good also. It's hard to play this game without giggling, at least a little bit.
You meet a female
I mean, come on, really? I think that was a missed opportunity to have the narrator record some kind of line about inserting a key. How did he do any of this without laughing? I'd love to hear the outtakes. Now, for most of this review, I'm playing as the sorceress named Qbert with a 3 because I'm clever. Or, well, not really, but it's still a funny name. For a top-heavy sorceress who can barely walk. Fortunately, she's much better at floating and teleporting. Now, that's a good character choice, I think. Even though you have to spend time regenerating your magic, you can summon up walls of fire and tornadoes. If that's not your thing, you can play as an Amazon who always gets great deals on books and movies online. A knight, an elf, a dwarf, what is this, Gauntlet? You collect treasure and weapons and things that'll make you stronger after each of your adventures. When you level up, you can increase your skills and health and magic power. You're even scored points while adventuring, and you choose your teammates if you're just playing a single-player game. Oh no, everyone's dead. Well, that's okay. You can pretty much continue forever by reanimating your dead friends who are already reanimated to begin with, because you first reanimate them by collecting their bones, but then you can spend coins to reanimate the already reanimated people. Right? Wow, it's a lot of animation. In addition to the main adventure, there's numerous side quests and loads of treasure and things lurking in the environments. And in conclusion, if you like these kinds of games, you can have a good time in the cheeky and quirky Dragon's Crown. And let's not forget, passed out Absinthe Fairy and a stein of mead holding a cherry. If the game features a station wagon with Disco 50 written on the back, it can't be all bad. It's Mayhem for the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. A budget-priced vehicular combat game with B-movie influence and an oversaturated comic book style. Smash cars into bits and collect boost, and I love the game's logo on the bottom left. I want that on a t-shirt. This is one of those games I'm happy to describe as a guilty pleasure worth playing.
We're going to have all the synthetic rubber we want.
Good music, and how cool is that logo? The beauty of Mayhem is its honesty. It wears its strength on its sleeve. It's not Twisted Metal, it's not Black Ops, it's more like Blood Drive meets Mad World. But what's not to like about that if you enjoy smashing cars and blowing things up? And while the gameplay itself isn't much beyond ordinary, the menus are really cool. Awesome art design in this game. I love that everybody's wearing a gas mask. As you would expect from a vehicular combat game, there's a variety of different events, everything from races to destruction derby, and my personal favorite, the events where you push other cars off ledges to explode. And I've always said that I want a Ferrari 308 or an El Camino, but now I want a station wagon that has Disco 50 written on the back. Hey now, I see some vulnerable prey sitting by a ledge over there. Goodbye. Oh, it's such a guilty pleasure. Mayhem. You and your 3-second learning curve. That's the way I like my vehicular driving games. Fast and easy to understand. You can play with up to 2 players locally or challenge your friends online. There's a bunch of different vehicles, including hot rods and station wagons and trucks. Tons of unlockable stuff, but most of the vehicles are pretty much the same. They just look cool. It runs smoothly, the music's pretty good, and the explosions sound great. And it comes with 2 pairs of 3D glasses, the old-fashioned kind that you'd find in comic books with the red and blue tinted lenses. So without having to buy a fancy multi-$1,000 new television and throw away your perfectly good old one, you can play the game in 3D. With flimsy paper glasses instead of irritating heavy ones. But don't go into it expecting Avatar. It's kind of headache-inducing and doesn't really work all that well or enhance the game. Fortunately, it's easy to turn off, and it doesn't require you to buy anything new. For a budget-priced, smash-and-explode driving game, I would say Mayhem does a nice job. It's a relatively short and simple game with a bunch of events to conquer and earn stars as well as unlockable things. It's pretty straightforward. You know, when you can't cause carnage, you may as well cause mayhem.
With Terminator genes to prevent them from making copies.
Don't mind me, I'm just a humble oil drum walking by myself. That thing's great. It's like the Optimus Prime trailer. It just vanishes into thin air when he's done using it. Metal Gear Solid 4. Reviewing a game like this a year after it's already released is a bit like preaching to the choir. You already know it's a good game. It's a beautiful game. The art direction, production value, and overall directing are simply brilliant. I've always associated the Metal Gear games with stealth games where you don't want to be seen, where you hide in the shadows and in cardboard boxes and oil drums, sneaking up on your opponents and assassinating them silently. I don't like to play like that. When I think of stealth, I think of the M60. Occasionally, though, to conserve ammo, I'll go with the tranquilizer dart. But I don't like them waking up later. It's a huge game, and I like that they let you play it more or less how you want to play it. You can play it like a maniac, or you can play it like a stealth assassin. You can shoot people in a first-person shooter perspective or an over-the-shoulder view. These are all excellent things, and the production value and technical qualities of this game are top of the line for sure. I could try to sneak by these guards, but I'm not going to. The plot of Metal Gear Solid 4 is involving, it's complex, it's really cool. You'll always be up to date and fully aware of what's going on with the story because you're going to watch enough cutscenes to put together 2 feature-length films. Well, let's talk about cutscenes. When I want to play a video game, I want to play a video game. When I want to watch a movie, I'll watch a movie. It doesn't matter what I think because I'm not the director of the game, and I don't know how else they would have conveyed the massive amount of information that really comprises the plot of Metal Gear Solid 4. But if I have a comment, that's it. It seems like, as good as they are, you're sitting through a lot of cutscenes. Now, you can skip through them, but I prefer the way some other games actually incorporate the plot and dialogue and cutscenes into the gameplay. But whatever, they really are nice, and they're as good as any top-of-the-line anime or animated film out there. I should note that the cutscene animations and the gameplay are all very smooth. This is on the PlayStation 3, and at the moment it's a PlayStation 3 exclusive. It has multiplayer gameplay. It's a very popular game, so you can find copies out there, new and used, for a very reasonable price. If you have a PS3, you definitely should check this game out. The weapon acquisition and upgrade procedure in the game is pretty cool. You find guns and missile launchers and stuff laying around the battlefield. When you collect extra guns and ammo, they are virtually sold and you virtually get these Drebin points. And there's really no shortage of machine guns and all kind of weaponry in this game to pick up and buy, and you can put handles on them and laser scopes and modify them. And they all have different characteristics. The M60 is my all-around favorite, which does everything well, even stealth, because if you blow everybody away, there's no one there to hear you. Did anyone else just try to find plaid wallpaper and lean up against it just to get your suit to look that color, because it adopts whatever pattern you're laying on? Good stuff, nice touch. I was looking for like a pink and gold plaid couch, couldn't find one. I thought that would have been stylish. There's really no excuse not to try this game if you like action thriller video games with a nice plot. Certainly a lot of care and attention to detail went into this one. Those remind me of AT-STs from The Empire Strikes Back. You know what would make this game a lot better? If you had the weapon from Dig Dug. They've got every other gun on Earth in this game, but where's the Dig Dug bike pump so that you could inflate your enemies and then explode them silently? You wouldn't even need ammo for that thing. See you next time on Classic Game Room.
Extra caution.
Snake, what's wrong? Answer me, please! Snake? Snake!
Moral of the story is don't attack tanks with a machine gun, as I learned that the hard way several times in a row. This is Warhawk for the PlayStation 3. And man, I was pleasantly surprised with this game because I'd heard nothing good about it from anybody. And I got it expecting the worst, but I ended up really liking it. And then later I found out a lot of the complaints I'd heard were due to the controller, and I guess the 6-axis control, which I wasn't using, so I believe they had a patch for that, because I played just like any other normal game. In fact, this game reminds me a lot of Star Wars Battlefront, which I liked on the PlayStation 2, except they had a hard time with the online on the PlayStation 2. This game is multiplayer only, so there's no storyline mode. It's only online multiplayer and also local multiplayer. And it's not quite as intuitive to pick up and play and also find people to play against as Halo 3, but it's not as intuitive because it's more complicated. And that's not to say it's better than Halo 3. I think they're actually both about the same amount of fun, in my opinion, so it's probably a preference on what style of game you like. What I liked about Warhawk was just this immense environment that you're playing in, and that there's just all hell breaking loose around you. You can have these games with dozens of people, and there's planes blowing up, you have tanks running around, you play capture the flag, deathmatch, team deathmatch, and zones. I like the zones a lot, and that's I think what I liked a lot about Star Wars Battlefront. You can jump into just about every piece of machinery in the game, every gun turret, every tank, truck, whatever. It's a very well-playing game once you learn the basics, and I played for several hours before doing the review, and when I started I was just getting mutilated by everybody, and by the end of it I was actually doing quite well, flying around, blowing people up. You can lock on your missiles. My favorite part of the game is those planes, the jets, and that's actually the reason I got this to begin with, because I just thought they looked so cool, and it looked so much fun being able to fly around and blow things up in a relatively open environment. I wasn't even expecting to have fun with the guys running around on the ground or the tanks, but you know what, the whole thing gels together very nicely. It's all a lot of fun, and it makes sense on how you play it. See that guy there? He's one of the enemies. He got the flag, and I had to use a flamethrower on him. The whole combination of being able to run around on the ground with like a trooper and then just jump into those planes and fly around and just land the plane and jump out and machine gun people and grab the flag or capture a base or whatever. It's a good time. This is a fun game. And if you like the online multiplayer games and action games, you'll definitely enjoy this. And it looks and sounds great. I mean, the environments are really nice. There's not very many of them, but I imagine this is the kind of game where they'll probably have more to download in the near future. One of the benefits of the PlayStation Network as opposed to Xbox Live is that it's free. I think Xbox Live in general is more well put together, but for a free service, this game uses it very well. The planes are a lot of fun to fly around, and you can also hover with them. So you can fly up to the enemy and then just hover there and machine gun them or launch missiles at them. So it's like a VTOL Harrier kind of thing, that being vertical takeoff and landing. But also you can crash into things and it doesn't just explode, it'll hover there. It's unbelievably rewarding to be machine gunning somebody and then have one of your teammates blow them up with a gun turret or something, and just to see them explode. And the screams are really good too. This game has a nice, slight, subtle sense of humor to it, which is nice. I always like that when they don't take themselves so seriously. The screams when your guy gets blown up are really rewarding, and it's a lot of fun to hear them. Of course, it's more rewarding to hear the screams from other people that you blow up, but in the case of me just starting this game, I'm afraid that I was the one getting blown up most of the time. I like this level a lot. It reminds me of one of the Star Wars cities, one of the newer movies. In fact, I think this does have a definite Star Wars style to it. The music sounds a lot like it came from a Star Wars inspired theme. Now, the tanks are just great fun. You can just destroy so many things with the tanks. I was playing this game again last night and didn't get footage of it, but I shot down one of the planes with a tank. And, you know, it just gave me such a warm feeling in my heart that I'd done something right. Similar to Halo 3, it does appear that, I played on a Saturday night, it does appear that there's lots of people online playing this game, so you should never be short of other human beings to play with. I felt that the way that you selected a server was a bit antiquated, but in these new online games they're updating things quite frequently, so perhaps they'll update that in the future as well. But overall, Warhawk is a fantastic game, and especially at a very modest price point, about $29 to $35 now. It's a terrific buy, and you'll have a lot of fun with this game if you enjoy online multiplayer action games. I just love the screams. It's almost worth getting blown up just to hear your character scream. It's also a nice touch when your airplane gets blown up and your body goes flying out of it and then lands on something. Sure, you just blew up and lost the game for all your teammates, but you may as well have a laugh at it.
Fuse! Just when you thought they were running out of video game names, they come out with Fuse! I'm waiting for the game called The, which would make title cards oh so exciting. How about the game formerly known as The, which would now be an unpronounceable symbol? Just think about that for a second while I shoot this guy in the ass. Fuse! From Insomniac, who's known for games like Ratchet and Clank and Resistance, and EA, known for games like NHL 91 and Jungle Strike on the Sega Genesis. What would video games do without Predator for inspiration? Fuse is a goofy title and a goofy game. Beneath its action exterior lies the heart of a bad game that's good. At first glance, Fuse is so incredibly unoriginal that it's laughably silly. And it lacks personality, substance, and dramatic storytelling, but it more than makes up for it with fun, addictive gameplay. I mean, I can turn into the invisible woman right in front of bad guys, and they immediately forget I'm there, and then shower them with grenades and watch them all chain reaction explode. I mean, that stuff's actually pretty fun. Fuse is a squad-based action game that you're meant to play with your friends, and the entire hook is leveling your characters up and unlocking new skills, which look cool. So the entire plot just feels like a giant afterthought. Like, oh man, we needed to make a story too. You get experience for pretty much everything, and then you apply that experience to your upgrade tree, which is pretty much the star of the game. As ridiculous as the rest of the game is, the upgrades are great. It has one of the most ridiculous storylines I've ever seen. Fuse is like some kind of super secret energy source, and bad guys are going to use it for a terrorist weapon. You control a team of 4 elite soldiers who are as one-dimensional and generic as possible. At the beginning of the game, they each pick up their own special fuse-infused weapon, get it? So each squad member has their own skill tree. And, a nice feature, you can switch between them in battle. But you know how it is, once you go invisible, you'll never go back. She's clearly the best because nobody can see her.
Snipers on the rooftops.
Although the dude with the giant shield is pretty good too for just taking out a lot of bad guys at once. Obviously, the best way to play Fuse is with some friends, so gather 3 of your buddies and all join together into one Fuse Fest. After all of my mockery and overuse of the word ridiculous, I enjoy Fuse. It's a fun single-player game, too, and it has that Insomniac style. You just need to give the game some time to see it. At first, your characters all kind of suck, and it doesn't help that they're not even remotely likable. But later in the game, as you level them up and apply your skills, they turn into superheroes. And that's when Fuse gets fun. In addition to a single-player campaign that you can play co-op with your buddies, of course, this also has your Horde or Firefight survival mode. You also earn experience and credits that you can apply to your characters and your squad perks. And it's just a very rewarding system when you can, like, chain reaction explode all of your enemies. Or strangle them, as the Invisible Woman. If you're looking for innovation or a plot that's memorable, Fuse is not the game for you. But if you're looking for a silly good time that you can play with your friends, then I would recommend checking it out. While Fuse doesn't seem to take itself too seriously, it could have been more charming. Maybe if there were Alombacs running around with them and a little talking robot. I have to give the sound designers some credit, though. The neat weapon sounds, explosions, and screaming are all very cool.
All clear on my end.
It's Fuse, available on your game console of choice, provided it's not the Game Boy.
ClassicGameRoom.com.
Welcome to Classic Game Room. I've been waiting for years to say this about a game. This game is mud. Because that's the title, mud. It's like wet dirt that you ride a motorcycle through. Mud! For those of you who like to shotgun cans of chemically engineered radioactive dragon piss and jump motorcycles, this is the game for you, or at least it's intended for your demographic. I laughed out loud when I saw the title because I'm pretty sure I suggested this when reviewing one of the Dirt games, like the sequel should be called Mud. And that's basically what this is, Dirt with motorcycles and a tighter budget. We get lots of screamy, awful music, energy drink advertisements, and arcade-style motorcycle racing that gets the job done, but doesn't really stand out. Mud is actually quite fun and very playable. It's just, you have to acknowledge there's a lot of really good competitors in the racing genre, but not that many dirt bike games. In fact, the only two I can even think of off the top of my head that I recently played are Enduro Racer on the Master System and Motocross on the Intellivision. And neither of those games have multiplayer like Mud does. Mud gives you a lot of ways to enjoy the game. There is online multiplayer, so you can race against other humans. More significantly, you get a World Tour mode and a variety of championship modes. And it's tough because if you fall off your bike, you're gonna lose. So I guess rule number 1 is don't fall off your bike and get decapitated. Because then how will you see to drive? Or enjoy delicious energy drinks? Anyway, it took me a while to figure out how to turn off the scrub indicator, but as I know nothing about motorcycle racing, this scrub thing, which sounds very made up, is new to me. You scrub or hold down the X button right before you jump for additional speed, which makes about as much real-world sense as drifting for boost. In the game, however, it's kind of tough because you need to scrub at just the right moment and make sure you're going to land on the track and not, like, in a different country. The World Tour mode lets you choose from a variety of goofy-looking characters and level them up as you unlock new events, earn gold, and spend money on drugs and energy drinks. Mud is officially licensed from MX1, MX2, and MXON! With 84 real riders. These people actually exist? You can make a living riding motorcycles? This is such a first world sport. Nothing says spending your tax dollars wisely like letting motorcycle riders jump on aircraft carriers. Just push one of those F-18s into the ocean, make more room for jumps. All jokes aside, Mud is a fun, playable game. It's a decent racing game. Rated T for teen, which is probably because you wouldn't want to let anyone younger than teens actually drink any of these energy drinks. They're not good for you. And supposedly the songs have mild lyrics, which is ridiculous because you can't understand anything except which is what they all sound like. In addition to the racing, Mud gives you biker sluts, and it's the kind of game that'll give you trophies if you can spell it backwards. Don't read too much into that, it's just very easy to get trophies, and you can drink energy drinks while you're driving to give you a boost of speed. Because when you eliminate brain cells, you think you're going faster. While I don't care for drinks made in a computer and I don't understand the sport, Mud is a lot of fun. If you're really into the sport. There's better driving games out there, but they probably don't have motorcycles, and it really is tough to keep yourself on that bike and not go flying off the track. This is the PlayStation 3 version. You can also get Mud on the Xbox 360 and PC. Mud. You should be able to unlock Psykill from the GoBots and drive it in this game. He was mean. Honey, I'm home! Oh no! What happened? I go away for a few weeks and the Hellgast blow everything up. I don't feel sufficiently nerdy enough. I have to change outfits. There we go. Sufficient nerdiness. Achieved. So, I was recently in Target looking at video game toys because I find them amusing, and I noticed that there's Transformers co-branded with Star Wars. Star Wars Transformers. It makes no sense. But you know what would make a lot of sense? Big Daddies in Killzone. I want Big Daddies in Killzone because that drill is unstoppable. I recorded this footage around the Killzone 3 launch, and I'm dressed as a big... Where the f*** is Saucer Cup? Who removed Saucer Cup? Who do I have to drill to get Saucer Cup around here? Whoa, that sounds... Headshot. Finally, they're shooting in home. Well, confined, localized shooting to promote the launch of Killzone 3. This is very cool marketing. I played through a couple rounds of this Killzone minigame and unlocked an ISA outfit. But I see potential here. Combat in home? Come on, you see two people having a private conversation on a bench? Pass me the rocket launcher. It's just a video game. And how much fun would it be to see both of those people flying off in different directions? LOL, FU. Hey, I got a new outfit! Once again, home is the perfect game to play on your PlayStation 3 when you don't feel like playing a game. You just invite some people and hang out next to the burning pile of wreckage. It's US Snake from the Gran Turismo 5 review. He looks like Stig Fett. It's like they were thinking of me when they designed this. It's the London pub, again, my base of operations in home. They've added some better music, but when can I set up remote-controlled miniguns? For defense. That bus driving by outside makes me nervous. As inane as it may be, headbanging while screaming EDF never gets old. So we've got some more music options in home these days. You can buy the boombox, and the London pub comes with its own London pub radio channel, which is pretty cool. Which gives the pub a more pub-like atmosphere to invite friends over and actually have some music playing in the background. When's the last time you've been to a bar that doesn't have a jukebox? Or, at the very least, some satellite radio pumping out crappy jams. Syntax error, the party doesn't start until BeerBot 5000 arrives! After a few more virtual beers, everybody started slurring their typing and putting virtual dolphin furniture on the virtual bar. That's all well and good, but what I wanted to do was put a giant tank full of dolphins with pointy teeth and flamethrowers. Oh, hey, did you guys know that you can use a keyboard in PlayStation Home? Have you seen these things? Keyboards? They're like giant flat boards with keys on them, and you press them and they make letters and symbols and stuff. It's amazing what technology is doing these days. We formed the Classic Game Room Keyboard Club, where everybody types with keyboards. Man, they're going to be on everything, like typewriters in the future. So, after getting virtually liquored up at the virtual bar, we took a trip over to Orc's place, a fabulous mansion in the hills with a swimming pool and diamond-encrusted sofas. They have all kinds of crazy new environments that you can buy these days. Why live in your apartment for real when you can live somewhere else for fake? I gotta say, this stuff is pretty clever. They do need to expand the virtual bar selection, though. And some of these places even come with giant TVs, so you can watch trailers and things like you were watching them on a TV, except you're watching them on a TV on a TV. There's kind of a strange irony in that, isn't there? Hey, we're in the Ghostbusters place! Cool! This is awesome, but it would be more awesome if you could steal the car. I had the same problem with the Batmobile and the Bat Lair. It looks great, but come on, let me drive the damn thing into something. Hey, it's the containment unit. Somebody turn off the power. See, this is kind of neat. Check this out. You can control Slimer and burp. Classy. Oh, and here's my jetpack, but it only works in this environment, though. Come on. Flying around, flamethrowering people from above. I just made that a verb. That would be so much fun. See, they're clearly trying to create more interactive environments, and that's cool. It's getting there. I think their motto for the time being could be PlayStation Home. It's like real home, but without flamethrowers.
for the inconvenience, sir. Our scanners are picking up false readings. They seem to think you're dead.
I was only mostly dead.
Shepard never surrenders, even when blown up, even when sucked into the vacuum of space, even when killed, mostly killed. He returns to save the day because Shepard's the kind of guy that loves life and all of the fun things that life has to offer. Why did I keep bringing Miranda on missions?
I'm very good at just about anything I choose to do.
And he's a hero, so he wants to save the universe. Why are human colonies disappearing? Who are the collectors? And why is Martin Sheen giving me orders? But more importantly, while he's saving the universe, he figures, what the hell, I may as well have a good time. If they can rebuild me after I'm dead, they can certainly undo all of this damage. It's Mass Effect 2.
Most drugs are legal, provided they are labeled properly.
Given a second chance at life, Shepard is going to save the universe in his own particular happy way.
Analysis. Defenseless herbivores are no match for guided missiles.
I even had a bottle of Ceres Ice brandy that I was saving for a special occasion.
I'll keep an eye out for a replacement bottle.
Now you should know that you have to do the important missions first because you have to earn the loyalty of your crew members by any means necessary. It's a dirty job, but Shepard's gotta do it.
Why don't we open this bottle right here, right now, you and me?
You crack open the bottle. I'll get the glasses.
That was awesome! Oh, Jenkins.
What the hell? My name is Shepard. Wait a second. Oh no, I've said the wrong things. No!
I have work to do, Commander. Go chat with your friend Jack if you want small talk.
My good looks and charm can't fail me now, but they have.
Tell me about you, Jack.
I'm done talking. Come back later.
I should go.
Wait, you mean the things that he says actually affect the outcome of the story and his relationship with the crew? Ah, hell with this. Let's just go shoot things. Mass Effect 2 is one of the greatest science fiction action-adventure epics that I've ever played, bested only by the original Space Quest. This is a gigantic RPG-style adventure game, which is like one huge science fiction hug. With more references to sci-fi classics than I can count, everything from the subtle musical cues reminiscent of Blade Runner and Alien, to the not-so-subtle references to Firefly, and of course the casting of Michael Dorn, the actor who plays the always enjoyable Worf from Star Trek. Now, without giving away spoilers, the plot and the characters are deep, and the galaxy is huge and worthy of exploration.
Zone exists on the far side of
Anybody else think Miranda looks like the Baroness in that outfit? The game goes to great lengths to ensure that you know everything about your crew, their backstories, and personalities.
Welcome back, Shepard.
And gives you ample opportunities to either strengthen relationships or completely destroy them. As you're initially building a crew to confront the bad things affecting the galaxy, which you'll run into. And you'll want a badass crew, and as you play the game, you'll level up your characters, making them stronger, giving them more powers, and upgrading all of your fun weapons. The combat in the game is very good, and while it can be jerky at times and does feel like Dead Space mixed with Gears of War, it's totally enjoyable and the background visuals are just stunning. This is one of the few games I've played that really made me believe that I was gallivanting across the galaxy with a group of friends.
Thanks for your time.
Because by the time you're done, you'll feel like these are your friends. They're very good characters, and that's much of the reason that Mass Effect 2 succeeds as well as it does. And like the universe itself, it's a massive game. This is from BioWare, the same people who brought you Dragon Age Origins. But to be honest, I really prefer Mass Effect 2. It's more straightforward and just incredibly well done. Also, I like the good science fiction combat action. It just doesn't get old. And this is the kind of game that you can pretty much play indefinitely. It was originally released for the Xbox 360 and PC. We've been watching the PlayStation 3 version, which can be downloaded from PlayStation Network. Do not try to do it on a modem. This is the kind of game I could talk about for a month, but then I'll give it away. If you enjoy excellent, well-made science fiction action adventures, RPGs, and just good old storytelling, then Mass Effect 2 is a game that you have to play.
Combat drone!
Overload deployed!
I want the strongest thing you have.
Easy enough.
It's green.
And guaranteed to knock you on your ass.